What's up, everyone? Adam the Movie Guy here with a special report episode giving my reaction and thoughts to the teaser release for the very long-awaited and overdue show based on the Friday the 13th slasher franchise, my favorite horror film series of all time. The show is called Crystal Lake and is focused on Jason's mom, Pamela Voorhees, one of the most iconic and important killer queens in the horror genre. She's living in the town of Crystal Lake, New Jersey, and works at the local summer camp, Crystal Lake, as a cook, and the series takes place about 9 months after Jason's death. The series is seemingly looking to explore the dark history of the town and the descent into madness and murder that Pamela is fated to go down. Here's the full preview of the 35-second teaser. Take a look, and I hope I don't get copyrighted for this bullshit.
The time has come, so let out a cheer.
It's like someone put a curse on this town. It all started when that kid drowned last summer. Jason! There's something in these woods, and all it knows how to do is kill.
Mommy's here. Camp Crystal Lake, oh, we love you.
First thing I want to note is the actress picked to portray Pamela Voorhees, Linda Cardellini, is absolutely perfect. Yes, Velma from the live-action Scooby-Doo movies is now Mrs. Voorhees. Glorious. I loved this casting the second I found out about it, and when I covered the OG film, I semi-joked about having the hots for Mrs. Voorhees. Let me tell you all something now. It ain't a fucking joke no more, because Linda Cardellini is one hot Mama Voorhees, baby.
I know she got it, cause she looking at me like she want it. She dropping low, maybe wanna throw some D's on it. Hey.
Who's your mommy?
My mommy?
Thirsty hyping up aside, I really think she's gonna kill it, in this case literally, as the character, and really make us sympathize with her, and when she finally snaps, however long that's gonna take in this 8-episode long season, I really need the show to emphasize the sadness and tragedy of the character of Pamela Voorhees, because that's exactly what she is, a tragic villain whose personal loss and grief turned into madness and rage after losing her son Jason due to the carelessness of others.
Well, I'm Mrs. Voorhees, an old friend of the Christies.
Oh, God, this place.
Steve should never have opened this place again. There's been too much trouble here. Did you know that a young boy drowned the year before those 2 others were killed? The counselors weren't paying any attention. They were making love while that young boy drowned. His name was Jason. I was working the day that it happened, preparing meals. Here, I was the cook. Jason should have been watched every minute.
I don't understand.
I am Jason. I am. Jason was my son, and today is his birthday.
Where's Mr. Christie?
Oh, I couldn't let them open this place again. Could I? Not after what happened. Oh, my sweet, innocent Jason. My only child. Jason. You let him drown. You never paid any attention. Look what you did to him. Look what you did to him.
Alright, it's rant time, everybody, so strap in. Pamela Voorhees is, in my opinion, one of the most underappreciated slasher villain film icons among the big dog slasher franchises. Yes, I know Jason is the true star of this franchise, and I'm not going to argue he's not. Hell, he's my favorite slasher villain of all time. But Pamela is so crucial to the entire franchise, it simply doesn't work without her, and she needs to be acknowledged and given the respect she deserves. I've seen many YouTube critics shit on the OG Friday the 13th, and its admittingly multiple flaws, But the main thing is because Jason isn't the killer and his mom Pamela is, completely disregarding her significance like the fucking goofy ass fucking goobers they are, bashing and over exaggerating the first Friday the 13th's flaws and calling it bad. Meanwhile, they're sucking the cocks of the first Nightmare on Elm Street in OG Halloween films and acting like they're gifts from God or some shit.
See anything you like?
We all do.
Well, okay, fine, fuck. Halloween 78 is the closest one of the first three I can admit you could say that about. However, Black Christmas 74 is better in my opinion.
What the fuck?
I didn't fucking stutter.
At the end of the day, while I fully admit and concede that Friday the 13th has the weakest first entry of the big five slasher film franchises, I fully believe that people are much more critical to the OG Friday the 13th and are quicker to pick apart its flaws compared to the others, while also being much more willing to overlook the others' issues they have, even Halloween 78, what very little issues there are. Alright, rant over. Next thing I want to briefly talk about is, funny enough, the man himself, Jason Voorhees. So it looks like we will be getting flashbacks to Jason ranging from his birth all the way up to his drowning, and I'm very excited to see that. I'm mentally preparing to be sad when seeing his scenes, since I always felt for kid Jason, being born with facial and head deformities, as well as being developmentally delayed. He was often picked on by other mean kids at the camp, and he really only had his mother who loved him. In the crossover film Friday the 13th had with Nightmare on Elm Street Freddy vs. Jason, during Jason's nightmare before the final showdown at Camp Crystal Lake when Freddy got in his head to fuck with him, we see our final girl Lori inside the nightmare witnessing Jason's memories as a kid being tormented by the other campers, and is drowning all the while the counselors weren't paying attention to him because they were too busy having sex while Jason drowned.
Aren't you gonna help the kid?
Can't you see I'm busy here?
You mean you're not coming?
It's not my fault this bitch is dead on her feet.
What I hope for the show and its portrayal of Jason is I want his relationship with Pamela to get a lot of attention, even if it's just in flashbacks. I really want to feel the close bond they had, since his tragic death pushes Pamela over the edge, where she becomes an unhinged killer, to the point where she literally starts channeling him like his spirit is possessing or influencing her from beyond the grave, which leads me to my next point. I want the show to handle the supernatural aspects of the series with the same ambiguous and ghostly cursed underpinnings that the very first Friday the 13th film had. What I mean by this is, in the OG film, every single time I watch it, the campgrounds give off this vibe that makes me feel like there's a ghostly presence at the camp, and it really slowly builds a sense of dread throughout the film that goes up significantly during the nighttime and reaches its peak for me during the lead-up scene to Brenda's death, when she's laying in her bed in the cabin and she's hearing this ghostly voice of Jason crying out for help in the night. That scene is so underrated and doesn't get talked about nearly enough, and to me is the scariest part in the entire movie. Now, most people argue the mundane explanation saying it was Mrs. Voorhees pretending to be Jason to lure Brenda out to the archery range to kill her, but I truly think it was Jason's ghost appearing on the anniversary of his birthday and, sadly enough, death, to haunt the campgrounds, because that voice does not sound at all like Pamela's, and evidence for that being in, with the voice being muddled somewhat because of the thunderstorm, it sounded nothing like Pam doing her Jason voice, which we hear later.
Mommy. Don't let her live.
I won't, Jason. I won't.
I really think emphasizing the sense of dread and giving Crystal Lake a real gothic atmosphere and mood, like it's a Hammer horror film, really fits the vibe of Crystal Lake post Jason drowning. Speaking of Hammer horror, I would love if Crystal Lake, the town, and the camp were given a highlight as a place of dread with a teaser preview the same exact way the 2010 British Hammer horror film The Woman in Black hyped up the town of Crithen Gifford in Eel Marsh House, home of the ghost of Jeanette Humphrey, the Woman in Black herself. Take a look at this perfect horror movie preview of the 2010 Woman in Black film.
During afternoon tea, there's a shift in the air, a bone-trembling chill that tells you she's there. There are those who believe the whole town is cursed, but the house in the marsh is by far the worst. What she wants is unknown, but she always comes back. The specter of darkness. The woman in black.
Fucking chills. This is exactly the kind of atmosphere I want Camp Crystal Lake, and to a much lesser and more subtle extent, the town itself to have. The use of the poem by the kids in the Woman in Black teaser preview would translate so well to kids talking the same exact way about the town of Crystal Lake, the camp, Mrs. Voorhees, and finally Jason himself. Just like they're sitting around a campfire telling ghost stories, like the characters did in Friday the 13th Part 2 and the 2009 reboot when they were telling the story of Mrs. Voorhees and Jason. Next point I want to bring up is Jason's dad, Elias Voorhees. This guy is an enigma in the franchise, and not counting the comic books or the Friday the 13th gun media game. He was supposed to appear in the deleted alternate ending of the Friday the 13th Part 6 Jason Lives movie, where he goes to Jason and Pamela's graves, and it was revealed that he's the one that paid to avoid having Jason cremated and actually buried next to Pamela. And he's mentioned by name in the autopsy scene of Jason Goes to Hell. I have no idea if he will actually be in the show, or Pamela will mention him by name and he's just not in the picture. I know in some continuities, he was an abusive piece of shit who beat Pamela and abused Jason regularly until Pamela finally snapped and killed him protecting Jason. And he had a great depiction in the Friday the 13th fan film Vengeance, and he was portrayed by Part 6 Jason actor CJ Graham, which was fucking awesome. So personally, I would like if he's at least acknowledged in the show. One last thing I want to mention that I noticed immediately was the era the show seems to be set in. It's set in the year 1971, and it being 9 months after Jason's drowning. That's significant since the show seems to be doing a whole new timeline thing and reimagining certain parts of the lore, since in the original continuity, Jason drowned in September 13th, 1957 at the age of 11, and the first Friday the 13th film takes place in 1979. This show seems to be taking the Bates Motel approach, where it's a completely different timeline and reimagining of the characters and exact details of the events that happened in the lore of the franchise. With the Bates Motel example being it was set in modern day times when it was released and featured a high school age Norman with his mother and older brother, while the original film took place in 1960. But the show was still true in spirit to the events of the movie, was known for with it ultimately Norman killing Norma and keeping her corpse in the window, and of course a famous shower kill. The exact details of Norma's murder were changed, and so were the motivations, but it still happened. That's the exact approach the Crystal Lake show appears to be taking the form of from the looks of the trailer, and honestly, I'm all in since the 1970s is my absolute favorite decade for horror films and just entertainment in general, especially considering the slasher genre really was born in this era, with the proto-slashers of the 1960s, Peeping Tom, and funny enough, the OG Psycho, which my favorite horror podcaster Alex Edwards from the Skeleton Crew show, aka the greatest motherfucking horror podcast you will ever listen to in your entire fucking life, and now Dead Man's Party, a fucking blast of a successor. He repeatedly pointed out the striking similarities and parallels between the Friday the 13th and Psycho films, so go watch all the old Skeleton Crew shows as well as Dead Man's Party if you have any taste whatsoever. Overall, I'm personally very excited for the Crystal Lake TV show, and I hope it's the shot of adrenaline the series needs for a full-on revival after that lawsuit fucked us all this past decade. I'm still angry about that being the reason the awesome Gun Media game got completely screwed, and all the planned DLC they were going to release went right out the motherfucking window because two fucking grown men either couldn't or wouldn't talk things out, and the ones that suffered were the fans, who I don't think they actually gave a single fuck about, and I don't even think it was just about money. I think a lot of it was fucking ego.
It's not about the money. This is a dick measuring contest. Oh, tits! This is a tit measuring contest. And she thought her tits were longer than my dick. So I had to pull out the tape measure. And I ran out of tape! You know?
But that's a whole nother conversation for another time. Aside from this upcoming show, we got the 13-minute short film Sweet Revenge, a very strange collab between Jason Universe and Angry Orchard Cider, out of all things, but hey, at least it got eyes on the franchise. In a future episode, I'll cover that short and give my thoughts on it, since I actually like some of the ideas and concepts that short had. Well, guys, that's all I have for this episode. Thank you all for listening. Like, comment, and subscribe. This has been Adam the Movie Guy, and I'll see you next episode.
It's got a death curse.
Mommy's here. Well, I'm Mrs. Voorhees.